Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming again. Tonight, Jason is actually going to be giving a presentation in something he calls the big idea. And then after the presentation, we're going to be doing some debriefs on some of his free quote, HVAC 2.0 free quote uh, sales he's made. And after that, we may get to answering some questions. So without wasting any more time, we'll hand it off to Jason and go from there.
Hey, thank you, Tanner. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Again, if you want to find us, if you're watching this video, you can find us at HVAC20.com. You can reach out to me at LinkedIn. My name is Jason Cecil. Look me up. Send me a direct message, whatever you need to do. So here's the big idea for tonight. The world's changing. You see the slide. And what we've discovered is clients are getting worse HVAC at a time when it's easier to provide better HVAC. And it starts with building better technicians. There we go. So I come from home improvement sales. And in home improvement salespeople, the old school salespeople are trained to get the sale no matter what. You're there to get the order that day, no matter what the cost. They teach us to burn your bridges, get yourself thrown out of a few houses. They teach us to put your ego up on the table and tell that client what they should buy and tell them they need to buy this today. Give them a 15% off, buy it today discount. Do whatever you got to do to get that sale. And if you can't get the sale, I need you to call me. And this is the manager. The manager is going to have you call them at the house if you can't close that sale. And then he's going to drop the price a little bit more. And he just dropped all your commission out of it, and he's going to get paid. And then the customer is either bought from you or is going to throw you out of the house. So that's essentially what happens. And so you've seen that type of customer, but they don't look like, that type of salesperson, they don't look like that anymore. And heating and air companies are starting to do the same thing. They're sending out their technicians, and the technicians are always trying to sell something. Clients are getting tired of always being told they need to buy something. But these heating and air companies have gotten smart, and they have disguised their salespeople to look like technicians, to look like comfort advisors. And these comfort advisors, they come out and they create a need where none existed before. They're lying to the customer. They're over promising, under delivering, but they're doing everything that they're trained to do. So let me say that again. They're doing everything that they're trained to do. These are HVAC companies. And the internet is full of old school people, this guy, training HVAC people. There are programs out there that train these salespeople how to sell. HVAC sales gimmicks that work. Okay, so here's what it looks like. A technician comes out, or a comfort advisor comes out, and he spends most of his time talking about how great his brand is. He tells the client that the installation doesn't matter as much as that company. And they talk about how they've been in business for 50 years. They talk about how big their building is. you've seen these, and if this is your company and you're watching, I apologize. This is just a slide off the internet, but they're everywhere. This is what you see. This is what they're selling. Is 50 years in the business, 35 years in the business in this case. So meanwhile, the customer, they just want the air conditioning fixed or want air, and all they're talking about is how good their company is and how good their trucks look. And then there's another company out there that they think that their customer service is the best in the business, and they don't treat their customers great. And what they do is they'll come out and they do a little bit of a bait and switch. They'll actually be the cheap guy. Okay, and they'll actually get the job, and then once they get started with the job, they find something else that's wrong that the salesperson missed. Now, you think this is not true, but it is. They'll get another $1,500 or $2,000 out of the job because the customer feels like, oh, you're already in it. This is, I got to get this done. I guess I'll just go ahead and do it. And that's
Remy Halo. Remy, you got to get this Remy Halo.
It's the low baller. And then another company, what they do is they'll ask the client who they've had out, and they've got something bad to say about every company out there. This is an example. One company in town, they've got a book. As soon as they find out who's coming out, they got a book that's got everybody in town in that book on their worst day. Now, I don't know exactly what was going on in this picture, but they're saying, hey, you want this guy selling, coming out here to install this unit for you? He looks like chucking a truck. And
He
so
got everything in one truck, though, didn't he?
And so it doesn't matter what company's coming out. They've got something to say to bash you. And they might even bring out the past failure rate from their local county website and show your past failure rate and say, hey, look, Mrs. Jones, so-and-so's got all these failures on their name. What if those were gas failures? They might be trying to kill you. And then they ask, what was the price? What did they quote you? And they say, oh, they quoted you the 2-stage or 5-stage. You don't need all that. You don't need that. We can beat that price. They tell them that bells break and so do whistles. And so that's what they do. Now, so meanwhile, all these clients, they're being pressured and rushed into making a 15 to 20 year decision. They're not given good information on what works and doesn't work. But this strategy works for a lot of companies out there. And a lot of these companies and salespeople are making a lot of money this way, but it's sleazy. Okay. And that's fine if you want to do business that way. If this is your strategy, that's fine. But if you want to continue with it, that's fine. But you're probably on the wrong channel. And if you're watching this video from a recording, you just probably need to go find another video because we're not going to be a good fit for you. But if you want to learn something new, something better that's going to change the industry, I mean, there's a better way. And we offer a better experience. And again, we're at HVAC20.com if you want to look us up. My name's Jason Cecil. I'm on LinkedIn. Send me a direct message. If you know Tanner, or Reedy, or Jason, send them a message. They'll get you hooked up. They'll point you in the right direction. So sales is not something that we do to somebody. And if you want to change the world, you got to change yourself. So what I found from these guys is they've tried really hard to explain what HVAC20 is. I've seen this slide before, and I've seen this one before. And I still didn't know what HVAC2 is. 2.0. But here's what I really figured
until you
out.
do it, can you? You can't know it till you do it.
This is what it is right here. This is what I figured out, is that nobody can be told what HVAC20 is. You have to experience it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's really nice.
And
That's
so
great,
you got a
Jason.
decision to make. You can take the red pill or the blue pill. And you can go back to that world of selling how you've been selling. But if you want to figure out the right way to do this, make a lot of money, help the client, protect your company, and feel good about what you're doing, this is how you do it. Be the guide, not the hero. We need to let, and I'm just learning what this really means. But to me, it means I guide the customer and let them be the hero of their own story. I'm just there to help them, give them the information, to educate them. And this is so simple. A lot of people aren't going to buy into this, not going to believe that this is how it works, but it really is this simple. And so what we're doing is we're offering the client a better experience through these smiley faces. It's a better experience through smiley faces. Maybe that's what needs to be our new slogan. Maybe that's how you explain it, Ted.
Okay.
Better experience through smiley faces. So here's the program. We have a survey that we send out to the client in an email with a what to expect as we go before we come out. And we encourage them to fill out that survey. Now that survey is just 4 questions. It's not like a survey you get at the doctor's office every time you go and you have to fill out 3 pages. This is 4 questions. And then when we get there, we go over those 4 questions. And those 4 questions are designed to figure out what it is that their pain is, what their problems are. Then we're going to dig a little deeper by completing a questionnaire. We ask a few more questions. Then we show a duct pressure video. And then once we go over that duct pressure video, we ask them if they want to do a duct pressure test, which is a static pressure test. And if they want to do it, great. If they don't want to do it, that's fine too. We have them sign it. So we're documenting whichever direction they want to go. The next step is we measure the job. We go and take pictures of their existing equipment, breaker panel. We look at the equipment outside. We take the static pressure. We do all those things. And then we come back to the table and we watch the 6 functions video. And then once we go over that video, we download the pictures to our iPad from their job, and we go over these 6 functions with their pictures and make sure they understand each of these 6 functions fully. And then we ask them which of these 6 functions is most important to them. Then we explain the likely load range. We have a load range where 90% of the houses that are the size compared to theirs fit within that load range. And most of the time, they're their equipment is oversized. It is outside the range. We ask them where they would like to size their equipment. Would you like to put in exactly what you have, or would you like to go down a size and get it inside that load range? Then once they pick the size, we have them pick the package. And so we have different packages, and as we go through this, the smiley faces are tied into the 6 functions. And we can also price condition with this. They see a price range, and they decide which of the 6 functions are most important to them, and which ones are willing to give up, or which ones they must have, and they pick a package. Once they pick a package, we ask a pre-closing question. And that pre-closing question is, other than price or payment, would there be any reason why I couldn't earn you business today? It's that simple. You ask the question, and you're okay with whatever the answer is. And if they tell you that it's just the price, you proceed to close. And the close is not some magical thing you get out of a book somewhere. It's just an obvious conclusion to this process. That's it. And then we have a post-close. You just spent $18,000. Who's the first person you're going to tell? I'm going to tell my brother. Well, what's your brother going to say when he finds out you just spent $18,000 on your heat and air unit? Is he going to think you're crazy? Yeah, he probably is. And why is that? Well, he didn't explain it the way you do. Okay, so that's the post-close. Then that's it. It's that simple. That's all there is to it. Questions? Comments?
That's very nicely done. I like the things you added to it. How do other people feel about the things he's added?
I
I like
it.
the offering of the 6, showing the 6 functions. I like the placement of it. It's really nice.
So in the debriefs too, there have been he's done a really great job of uncovering some places where you can strengthen the presentation by helping people see their current equipment. There's a lot of people, I mean, I didn't know this because most people's equipment's in their basement where I live, but a lot of people have never seen their equipment. And so taking pictures of equipment so that you can sit there and talk to the folks about the equipment that's about to go away turns out it's very, very powerful.
Because Jason, where are you? Where's your company?
Unmute yourself, Jason.
Anderson, South.
Say it again.
Anderson, South Carolina. Looks like he froze up.
Anderson, South Carolina.
Yeah, so I mean, y'all see, I mean, most of the equipment's either in the attic or in a crawl. Is that what you see?
Yeah.
Turn off your
Yeah, so I
camera,
mean-
Jason, and you won't be using so much of your bandwidth.
Okay.
That's better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. So in our market, we see mostly in the crawl space or in the attic. Sometimes you see one in a closet or in a basement, but there's not that many basements. Don't see them in closets very often. So people are not, they don't go into their crawl space especially. And
Right.
And I take pictures and they're amazed. And they also don't understand how it works. So you have to draw it out and explain to them that, you know, some people say, oh, I don't need a furnace. Well, I just want an air conditioner. Okay, well, it doesn't work that way because the blower motor is in the furnace. And some people don't know that, and it's reasonable for them not to know that, in my opinion. So you have to explain it to them. And most of the time, especially if it's in a crawl space, I mean, the blower compartment is just full of growth and dirt and nastiness. So the filtration makes sense. Especially in the summertime, the humidity is always high, so dehumidification makes sense then. Right now, it's harder for me to make sense of that because uh, because people don't notice that they have a problem. So you have to, if they have like a health issue, you can start bringing up the importance of managing the humidity in the space. The fresh air. Every time I've brought that up, makes perfect sense to them, and everybody wants that.
That was interesting to me. You had pretty much 100% people wanted the fresh air.
Yeah,
That happened
absolutely.
both the jobs today also?
The we did. So we're just getting started getting set up to offer that. So we're selling it, but we haven't quite figured out exactly what we're going to charge for it. And then the mixing, and the one today was a split level house. So yeah, it made sense to have
Continuous mixing. Yeah. They had upstairs, downstairs, temperature and balance.
Yeah. And so then the humidity, I don't sell many humidifiers around here, but it's something I'm going to offer. And then the load matching makes sense too if you explain it right, where the house has a load and the equipment has a load. And I explain sensible heat a little bit and latent heat a little bit. So I explain those two things and then explain what a load matching is.
Jason, could you tell them about how you use the kitchen sink for load matching?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the load matching, right here well, actually, I'll do it in a couple places. You can do it here with the equipment where we're talking about single stage. The spigot's either on or it's off. And then you can set your templates up however you want to. Some of my other templates have the 2-stage next. And so it'll have, you got either on or off, or you can go about 70%. So you kind of do the water flow at about 70%. And then with the 5-stage, we explain it I explain it as 5 different speeds. And then with the extreme variable, full variable speed, you can get any flow that you want out of this. So that's how I explain the load matching with that. Other ways I've explained it in the past is with like the windshield wipers, especially if I see that they have a really nice car in the driveway or in the garage. Old school windshield wipers either on or off. And then they had some that had like 5 or 6 different clicks, and that's your 5-stage. And now they have automatic windshield wipers that can just sense it and it just slows up or down. So that's your variable speed. So that one makes a lot of sense to people. Another one I have done is go to the light switch where they have a dimmer right there. And I have one light that just cuts on and off. And then the dimmer is, you can adjust it to whatever you want. That's the load matching. But I also talk about how the equipment, if you cheap out, and I use that word, if you cheap out and buy the single stage, these manufacturers have figured out how to increase the sensible heat ratio so that they're moving more air to get a higher efficiency out of it, but it doesn't remove any moisture or very little. And so you're really not going to be as comfortable as you are right now if you have single stage and you buy single stage again.
So when you're explaining that to the homeowner, do you use the more technical terms like sensible heat ratio and things like that, or do you kind of rephrase that?
I will use that word on some of those because we call that a flash roll, which is where you just burst out a bunch of technical information real fast just to make it sound like you or know what you're doing, not to make it sound like you know what you're doing, but just to let them know that you do know what you're doing, and they get the confidence in you. One of the ways I do that is with the filter face velocity. So here's one of my flash rolls right here, and this is some level up stuff where it's on the next level. But here's one of the things that I'll say with and you practice this and you try to do it as fast as you can. You say, all right, so filter face velocity is simply the area of the filter in square feet divided into the cubic feet per minute of air we expect to move across the filter. And that gives you feet per minute, or the velocity of the particulate going through the filter. We want to keep that below 500, ideally in the 250 to 300 feet per minute range. That'll give you the best filtration. If you do that, if you deliver that properly, you will sell the filtration every time. Especially when you show them that their filter is improperly sized for their unit. Pre-closing question. I think this is very important.
What do you guys think about that? Reed, do you ever use something like that?
I was, mine's a little bit different than that. I don't have any problems with that other than price or payment. Would there be any reason why I couldn't earn your business today? I say it a little bit like this. What do you think about the prices that we've talked about? And they say whatever they think. And I say, okay, well, what do you want to do next? And that's similar. But I think you have to have it.
So yours came more directly from Sandler?
Well, that was actually my mind. I just
okay.
feel comfortable saying it.
Oh, okay.
Which there is a way of a Sandler one that I've heard of using the 1 to 10 scaling before kind of a pre-closing question and going, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being get out of my house and 10 being I'm ready to buy right this second, where do you line up? And then wherever they say, go, okay, well, what would it take to get from that point to a 10? And then if it's just price, be like, okay, so is price the only reason? If we eliminated price, then you'd be ready to buy right now? As kind of a way to see, is like, is there any other looming things that's not lining up for what they're looking for that's preventing them from buying? And I thought that was pretty good. I've used it once before, but not consistently.
So another way to do it is, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I'm ready to do it, 1 I'm not ready at all. Where are you? I'd say I'm an 8. Okay. Why didn't you pick a lower number? And then they'll give you all the reasons they want to buy. And then you can roll into this other than price. Because it's always, if you do a good job, it's usually price. Other than price or payment, but would there be any reason why I couldn't earn your business today? And they might say, my dad's going to help me pay for this. I need to run it by him. I would like to know that, because I might want to call the dad or talk to the dad and explain what we're doing. or they might have a son that's going to help them. Maybe they're a little bit older and they got a son that's going to help them. You know, whatever the reason is, that's fine. We want to earn you business anytime, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. I'm just here to show you your options. But would you keep an open mind? Yeah, I keep an open mind. Then I deliver the price, and it may not be as much as they thought. They might hem and haw a little bit. And they might tell you, can you email it to me and we'll make a decision later? And that's fine too. This program is strong enough where you're going to get those circle sales, those customers that'll call you back at a later time and buy from you.
Can you talk a little bit to that? Turns out, everybody, my first debrief with Jason was his second time doing free quote.
Yeah, so the very first time that I tried it, so I'd sent the questionnaire. I had set up one or two of the templates. They did not fill out the survey. So I got there to the survey. We talked about the 4 questions and what was important to them. And one of hers was health. She mentioned the health a little bit. And then we got deeper into let me go back to this. We got back deeper into the questionnaire. So the questionnaire just goes a little deeper, because she was saying, you know, her health was like 4 or 5 on the survey. Wasn't a big deal. But then during the questionnaire, all of a sudden she started talking about mold and growth and woodpecker getting into her house and them having trouble sleeping upstairs and things like that. Then I was able to show the duct pressure video, and unless the blower motor's dead and you can't do it, most people buy that for $25. And, you know, so I was still just trying to figure this all out at the time.
So,
You know, that was
so hang on before you go any further. When you say most people will buy the static pressure for $25, well, one of the things is most salespeople aren't going to probably be capable of doing static pressure, or they may not know what you're talking about. So can you go in a little bit more detail about that, and then talk about how the whole $25 works?
Yeah, so with the static pressure, we want to know what the total external static pressure is of the air handler or the furnace, because inside that air handler or furnace, what they currently have more than likely is a PSC motor, a permanently split capacitor motor. And those motors are a lot tougher than the motors that are sold now. So the motors that are sold now are ECM motors, and those are mandated because they are more energy efficient. But the problem with them is if your static pressure is high, which is your duct pressure, if it's high, it's going to burn up that motor in a short period of time, just a couple of years. I've seen them burn up in a year. And the way you test that is you turn it on in the air conditioning mode. And some of these other guys might correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the time, say 90% of the time or more, the airflow is always stronger in the air conditioning mode than it is in heating mode. So I turn it on in air conditioning mode, and you learn where you're supposed to drill the holes, and you have a manometer. And they have inexpensive manometers, and it'll give you a reading. And 9 times out of 10, it's above that range, above the 0.5. And when you're taking your pictures, doing your picture presentation, you can take a picture of the label right on the furnace that says the total external static pressure cannot be more than 0.5. Now, this has not been a problem for this unit that's 16 years old or 20 years old because it had a PSC. But if you leave this the way it is and we go same for same with another single stage unit, you're going to be buying a new blower motor. So would you like for me to test this to see if there's any additional work we need to do to correct this? Or do you want to just take your chances? We charge $25. And most of the time, they say, I'll just have you test it while you're here. And they get out their credit card and ready to pay for it. Or they'll do Apple Pay or Zelle, or the other one.
I mean,
Venmo.
your wife's been getting a bunch of $25 hits to her Apple Pay, hasn't she? She must be
Yeah,
thrilled.
that's why she's not gonna get much for Christmas. And so people are curious about this, and nobody's even able to do that that's been out there because they're all just salespeople. You know, they're the guy that can do that.
Well,
So-
and to pitch the software a little bit more, if you go into the measurements field, it shows you where to drill the holes, and you can type in the numbers that you get on the manometer, and it'll do the calculating for you.
Yep. And I usually take a picture of the manometer as I'm doing it just to show them I didn't make up the numbers. Because you don't have to, because it's always wrong. And then I also explain to them and show them their picture of their blower wheel that's dirty, and it can't move as much air as it could if it was new or if it was clean. So you have a high static at 0.6 right here in this picture. Well, guess what? You clean that blower wheel, it's going to be higher.
Plus, if you got a dirty blower wheel and they had a servicing company come out once or twice every year, what do you say?
Yeah, that's where I really pick them apart and say, when did you say they just had this serviced? And they'll say, oh, they were just here a couple weeks ago. And I go, huh? Why? What do you see? And I show them the picture. There's like, you can
Doesn't
see,
look like they cleaned the blower wheel.
you can see growth all inside that compartment because they got filter failure. They've got mice that have been running around in there. There's always something to show. They got leaves inside the outdoor unit that they said they just cleaned. You can pull the outer cover off the outdoor unit, and there's cobwebs all in there. And they just serviced your unit. Why do you think they didn't do that, ma'am? Why do you think they didn't clean that? Huh. So you can really pick them apart. And the funny thing is, you know, you're supposed to, if you can show them in their book that you're supposed to set the blower speed based on the static pressure. And you can show them, usually their book's sitting right on top of the unit. You can just flip it to that page, take a picture of it, and show it to them, and show them that there was no plugs. You show them a before picture and an after, that nobody's ever drilled static holes. How did they set this unit up? You've had it in here for 16 years. How did they set this up? And you've had it serviced for how long? And nobody's ever set this blower speed. They just left it the way it was, right out of the box. They never set your blower speeds. How does that make you feel? And they tell you that well, I guess that's why we called you out. So That's how I do the static. It's pretty easy. And it's powerful.
And it pays for your lunch.
Pays for my wife's lunch.
Your wife's lunch.
So those, when you're measuring the job, of course, it's very important to get the measurements for the installation department and take pictures for the installation department. But you're really building your presentation that goes along with this 6-function video. The 6-function video is the key here because it explains an air conditioner in a way that customers can relate. It explains it as a car, the air conditioner in a car, in the most simplest ways. And so then you go over their system with these 6 functions and help them decide which of these 6 functions do you want and which ones can you live without. And then you put together, it'll help you put together a package, but then you got to know this sizing. So the sizing is important, and it's always oversized around here. They put in the big furnace and the big air conditioner. So why do you think they oversized it, Mrs. Jones? Do you think the person that pulled the load originally when they put this last unit in, do you think they were scared that they were going to put in too small of a unit, so they put in a bigger unit? And you have to explain to them that bigger is not better. And you explain to them, yeah, Ryan, they are oversized everywhere. And so you explain to them that you have good houses and bad houses as far as tightness goes and insulation. And so you can pick, if it were my house, I tell them that you can pick I would pick inside the range, certainly, but I would probably pick something over here in the green range. Because in the green range, if I choose an equipment size here and it still doesn't address all of my comfort issues, I still have options. I can tighten up the house. Well, you could do the comfort consult at that point, the blower door, and see what it says. And if it tells you you need to tighten the house, you can tighten the house. And now your equipment's the right size. If you choose something in the red and it doesn't fix your comfort issues, if you do the comfort consult in the blower door and it tells you you need to tighten the house, if you tighten the house, now your equipment's even more oversized.
It's oversized all over again.
Yeah. So what would you like to do? I mean, if we put it in, if we put this unit in and you still have a little bit of comfort issues, do you want to fix the house? And if the answer is yes, well, you might want to look in the green.
So let me take a different shot at explaining how I think of this likely load range with the green, yellow, and red. Basically, that the whole range is 90% of the houses that size, it's their load. So what you've done is you've taken out the outliers, which can skew the curve one way or the other. And so these are the average houses. The ones in the red are the average bad houses. The ones in the green are the average good houses. And the ones in the yellow are the average middle houses. And the problem with sizing to the red is, one, you may still be oversized to the ductwork. So you may not be getting the equipment small enough to correct for duct deficiency issues with the equipment. Second of all, if the house is leaky, which your average bad house is, equipment may not correct your comfort and control issues. And so you may find yourself still frustrated and wanting to do more to the house to make it more comfortable. And so now if you come in and you make that average bad house into an average good house, the equipment no longer matches. And you may find yourself replacing brand new equipment a second time. Anybody else want to take their way of describing it so that everybody can get a third way?
I mean, I think that was put pretty well. I mean, about the only other way that you could look, which I mean, it's still pretty much the same way of basically just saying that, you know, the houses your size, here's a plot of what we could expect. And there are good houses and there are bad houses. And depending on where your house is in between those 2 points is going to be wherever your load is at and what size HVAC you need. So what kind of house do you have? And then if they're like, oh, well, I have a good house and I know, okay, well, then about this range is where you're going to be. What would you like to get? Or if they're like, well, I really don't know. I think it might be good. It might be bad. Well, then that's where you can offer the comfort consult. But for the situations of just understanding and wrapping your head around, you know, what you said with matching equipment to houses and what happens if you have a really bad house and then you improve it, just for visualization of that, it helps the homeowner understand what choice they're about to make. They understand what happens when they go back with the same size, where it's where the arrow is at on this one, going, oh, well, my house would have to be way worse than the majority of the houses my size for that to be correct. So am I still okay with going back with that size? It puts it into a visual perspective.
Ted, do you want to answer this one?
Which one are you using?
It's a likely load range that we created at a previous company.
Okay. So
I sent it to you.
So
but
basically, I think what people are doing is they're using their load calc software and they're coming up with what would be a leaky house for that square footage and what would be a tight house for that square footage. So layer of like 0.5 versus layer of 3 or 4.
So how can we need to post that formula into the comments, or where do we need to put that? Susie's asking.
This is a thing that Nate was working on, and I think Eric's working on trying to figure out an automated solution. So this is kind of just a workaround right now, and I'm not even sure what the numbers are.
Ted,
So
can you hear me? I think Jason's talking about the what Susie asked about.
Susie had asked. Yeah, she'd asked about the filter face velocity formula.
Okay.
And so here's what it is, and I'll type it out in the comments here in a second. But it's the area of the filter in square feet divided into the cubic feet per minute of the air you expect to move across the filter, and that gives you the feet per minute, or the velocity going through the filter. And you want to keep it below 500, but ideally in the 250 to 300 foot range. So I will.
In other words, as big of a filter as you could fit in.
Yep. Because otherwise, it's just like somebody explained it to me once. It's like shooting those tennis ball launcher or whatever you call those things into a chain link fence. If you got the setting too high, some of those tennis balls are going to get through the fence. But if you're just lobbing the ball against the chain link fence, nothing's going to get through. So it's the same thing with the filters, the filter face velocity. So if anybody's out there watching this video at a later date, look us up, HVAC20.com. I mean, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Get in contact with Tanner or Reedy.
Absolutely.
We're looking for salespeople that we want to be a part of something better.
So let's do the debrief on those 2 sales.
Yeah. So with the with the one that was a circle sale, I left it with them, emailed them the quote. Their unit was working at the time, still working. They picked their package that they wanted. It was getting older.
So what prompted them to call you?
Well, I did follow up with them with an email and just reminded them their particular package that they chose, they would qualify for the tax credit. And I reminded them that,
but what is that? What prompted them to call you in the first place? It started getting cold and they knew the equipment was old.
it was a turnover lead. The technician said, "Hey, you got old equipment. You might want to consider getting a price so that when you're ready, you kind of know what they cost."
Oh, that's a great way that is such a soft. That is such a soft sale. And then you went out there and you were soft with them and gentle. And a couple weeks went by and they're like, those boys were so nice and they're kind of right. That tax credit, who knows how long it'll last, and we're going to be here a while. Might as well replace it.
So and then the other one, the sale today was their furnace was overheating. I think it turns out it's probably a blocked heat exchanger, but it was overheating. But it wasn't tripping in high limit, but they could smell gas. They called the gas company out there, and of course, gas company just puts the tag on it and shuts it off, tells them to call heat and air company. And so they called another company, big company in town, and that company wouldn't really spend any time diagnosing the problem. They just said, "You need a new one." And their salesperson was apparently very pushy, and it rubbed them the wrong way. They were just offering single stage equipment too, but they were like, "Hey, if you get it in today, or if you say yes right now, we can get it in tomorrow for you." And the
same size. Were they going to go with the same size? This was the 80,000 BTU 3-stage Carrier Infinity. They were going to replace it with a single stage 80,000 BTU furnace.
Right. So no, I converted that to a heat pump, and they had a 4-ton AC. We moved it down to 3 tons, and they chose variable speed. So it's going to be the right size all the time.
Well, and the static pressure was how much on that?
It was like 0.5 with the 4-ton. So I knew we were good as far as static goes. And
so they had enough ductwork for 4-ton. For the 4-ton they had.
They did.
Okay.
In this case, they did.
It's unusual.
Yeah,
How
this
many
was
square feet was the house?
like 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
So it was definitely oversized for the square footage of the house. And it was just split level. So, they kept having comfort issues. And so somebody thought bigger was better. Oh,
Well,
you're not.
and they had a nice furnace, but they didn't have nice air conditioner, did they?
No, it was just a single stage air conditioned 4-ton.
Okay.
The furnace had multiple stages though.
And how did they like the idea of having of you helping them build their perfect specification?
Yeah, so the one guy was from England, so they just had boilers over there apparently, and he didn't know what a heat pump was. He's heard of heat pumps, but he thought it was just something that comes out of the ground. He thought it was like pumping something out of the ground. And so the previous company obviously didn't offer him a heat pump, and the previous company didn't offer multi-stage for load matching. We hit on all these things and let them pick which package they want. And in the end, other than price or payment being a reason why I couldn't earn business today, and she says, well, we kind of like to talk about this before we make a big decision like this. I mean, it's a lot of money. I mean, you were more expensive than the last guy. And then he says, yeah, but this has got the more features that we were than the other equipment. They picked their own package.
Right. You're going to have to call that guy back and tell him to bid to the specification you just created if you want to see. Oh, but that company won't even offer it, will they? They only do single stage.
Well, and they said, well, no, we don't want them back. I mean, they said that he was really pushy and real high pressure, and we didn't like that. And so at this point, I'm like, hey, I can go outside, let y'all talk for a few minutes. You can tell me yes, you can tell me no. I promise I'm not going to let the air out of your tires on the way out if you tell me no. And, we go outside, sit in the car for a few minutes. She comes and gets me. Say, okay, we're ready to move forward. So, I mean, they went from having a high pressure situation with that other company to me asking them if they want to make a decision today. And then still talking it through and working it out and saying yes. So either way, if she had said, we're going to need some more time, I would have been, that's fine, no problem. Let me send you the quote. Let me send you the specification. If you want to get some more quotes, that's fine. Have them bid it to the specification. But basically, you just relinquish their fear in making a bad buying decision. That's what we do. And put it on the schedule for Thursday. So, I mean, they were not, can't do it tomorrow, but they're willing to wait a few days.
You leave them space heaters, or how'd that go?
We told them we would leave them a couple space heaters. So the office is going to take that to them tomorrow. They were fine with that.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I think this is true. And I think free quote works for it. Because it builds a specification.
But I think it also, you can get your technicians to do like what my technician did earlier in the month. Say, hey, your units are getting a little older. Be glad to have one of our guys come out and build you a specification so you know exactly what you need, and he can get you a price too. That way you know about what these things cost. I think that's a good approach. So I would love to have any of those leads.
Well, so in case everybody's wondering, or anybody's wondering, Jason's done 5 HVAC20 free quote process leads. He's dramatically helping us improve the free quote process and finding places to polish the rough edges. And he sold every single job. So we don't know what that means in the long term. I don't think he's going to have 1,000 batting average forever, but his average job size looks like it's going to be going up because this process is helping him sell lots of inverters and 5 stages. So those of us who have been doing Comfort Consult know that inverters and 5 stages are really important for people that have high comfort scores on the comfort quiz. But it looks like doesn't matter if you have high comfort scores. People like better equipment and having more control of things. And then there may be things that they're not really aware are issues because nobody's brought them up to them. So they may have low comfort scores because nobody's talked to them about fresh air or, how carbon dioxide builds up in small bedrooms if you're not running your HVAC on continuous when you're sleeping. And you can get better sleep if you circulate that CO2 throughout the house and mix it down. Get fresh air from outdoors, mix it down further. So I don't know. I'm really excited about this, and it sort of gives me hope because we had a real hard time finding HVAC salespeople. Just salesperson 1, not salesperson 2, like all the current HVAC 2.0 tribe. These guys all do the blower door testing and full load calc and all that stuff. We're looking for just regular salespeople to run through this and make sure that it's easy to do. And Jason, do you think the onboarding? Do you think somebody could go through onboarding? Good night, Reedy. Thank you for coming. Do you think
Thanks, Reddy.
somebody could do the onboarding? Is that enough? Could they do it all remote or just come to a couple of Monday meetings so they can ask questions? Or
Yeah, I think they can do the onboarding. I think they need to stick with it. I mean, and follow the program, follow it just the way it is, and then come to these Monday meetings and ask questions. And I think they got it.
okay.
It's not that hard. It's just a different approach. It's just helping the client
Jason, can y'all
relinquish
hear
their
me?
fears.
I can hear you, JT.
All right. Are you offering Comfort Consult in the free quote process?
I am mentioning it and letting them know that that's an option.
Right.
And so, and if we can't solve all of their comfort issues with the equipment,
Right.
I'm letting them know that there's other
That
options available.
Gotcha. All right.
And if it and you're gonna unless that ends up being popular, you're gonna price that kind of high, right?
Yes, I've been saying 850.
Okay.
I've really only seen one house that really should have had a comfort console this month, and
Okay.
that was early on before I even had any of these templates set up. So I mentioned the comfort consult tour, and I might have told her $1,000
Okay.
because I would have had to bring Reedy down from where he lives.
Or maybe you get JT to come over because he
Yep.
knows how to run
Yeah,
his
that's
blower
what
door
he's
and he needs some practice. It's been so long.
It has been a while.
And what you're saying, Jason, about the putting it off to emergency, I think that's a good way too, because but now you got the specification, you got the right size, I mean,
Right.
you know what the customer needs. And I think that's a good way to build a business.
For sure. I think it's definitely a process that has some legs for sure.
Yeah. So
Well,
they can
Jason
definitely call it
Cecil,
a process.
thank you so much for putting that together and sharing your experience with this, even though it's pretty much brand new.
Sure.
Your excitement
Absolutely.
about it is invigorating, and I really appreciate it because I need it right now.
Hey, if we can just
And
get
I'd like to get some more salespeople doing this. Probably I could handle the next 2 or 3 people might get a little bit of what is this? I'm the drill sergeant. Yeah, help from the drill sergeant.
right. Sounds like a plan. I mean, anybody that's watching this on the fence about this, you just need to lean in. I mean, all these people that are here at
Oh
these
yeah,
meetings.
onboarding's free.
Yeah.
The courses that first course for free quote doesn't cost anything. Gets you all
And
set up.
And all these people are a lot smarter than I am. If I can do it, you can do it.
All right. I'm going to end the stream on that. Thank you all for coming. And not going to be happening next Monday because that's Christmas. And not going to be happening the Monday after that because that's New Year. But if anything particularly interesting happens in the meantime, maybe we'll do it on a Tuesday or maybe not. So pay attention for notifications. And otherwise, we'll see you in January. And Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, guys.